some very serious news that continues the pathway and data points of showing that there's some serious economic risk and dangers to consumers coming in the next year to year and a half. And they have to do with vehicles, mortgages, even AI taking over jobs. And look, this is not something that's new, but every minute and day that goes by, you can see more progress towards a very serious catastrophe for many consumers and many employees. One of the things that is very stealthily creeping up are interest rates. We're going to have to get used to 10% mortgage rates being the normal. And we're going to talk about why that's the case. We're also going to talk about what one job is kind of a hidden, under the radar job that makes a lot of money, that people are happier with that job than anything else. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about vehicles, because everybody has to have a car. Everybody needs a way to drive around, but the car market is changing dramatically. And what I mean by that is you're seeing a lot of, I guess you call it, um, changes to the automobile industry. And it's not a matter of just different cars coming out. The values of cars are changing, the financial viability of cars are changing, and also we have EVs, which is really more than just a different kind of vehicle. It's going to entirely change the landscape of how people travel and what the costs are. First, in the traditional car market, you see here used cars are less affordable. Average used car costs 26,651. And actually, this is a little bit outdated. It's actually a few months old. Kelley Blue Book. You're talking really about $27,000. Why does that matter? Well, 5 years ago, that was the price of a new car. Average new car was $26,000, $25,000. Now used cars are at that level. What does that mean is, for a used car at a $27,000 price point, your payment, your finance payment on that car is close to $600 a month. $600 a month for a used car. And even if you buy a late model used car that's, 1 or 2 years old, you're going to have it for less than a year under warranty, right? Most cars have a 5-year, 50,000-mile warranty, or 5-year, 60,000-mile warranty. If you buy a used car that's a couple years old, probably has 30,000, 35,000 miles on it, look, you drive it a year, a little more than a year, you're out of warranty, either based on time or based on mileage. So now you have a $600 payment and you have no warranty, because your payment doesn't stop when the warranty runs out, right? This is a big deal. And the prices of all kind of cars, but used cars especially, is putting a dent on people's budgets. And you combine that with the other things. You have um, college loan repayments restarting. Student loan payments had a moratorium for almost 3 years. Now you have to start paying. Even if you're not subject to that repayment, you still have to remember that the rest of the market and the economy has that baked in. So whatever industry, whatever business you're in, fewer people are going to be able to afford buying whatever it is your company that you work for sells, because of um, the used car prices we just looked at, right? It's because of student loans and a few other things that will come into play here on this call. That's going to affect the viability of employment. There's already a lot of employers laying off people. We're going to look at one here in a minute that's very surprising. So what else is going on with cars? Well, here's where you run into EVs. Manheim, which is the largest auto auction company in the United States, EVs, used cars at its auctions, are up 43%. That's year to date. It could still go up more. So even on the used car side, electric vehicles are starting to infiltrate the market. And you might say, well, that's a good thing because there'll be more used EVs. Well, that's not going to change the price. They're still going to be in the 20s. And now you have to worry about all of the downsides to EVs, which we'll talk about that too. New cars, electric vehicles are also being infiltrated. There'll be more than 50 new models in 2024. Dodge, Jeep, Kia are among the brands with EVs coming to market by the end of 24. What does that mean? That means there'll be fewer gasoline internal combustion engine vehicles to buy. So you are going to have to live with your choices of EVs. Look, you may want an electric vehicle. Maybe it's a better type of car to have. But you have to factor in that your selection is going to be less thorough with gasoline vehicles. I know you have an opinion about that. Let us know in the comments what your opinion is about having fewer electric vehicles. Look, in some West Coast states, California, Oregon, Washington, certain manufacturers aren't even shipping gasoline vehicles to dealers anymore. Jeep is a good example. If you live in Washington or Oregon or California, and even some other, I think there's 14 states, some on the East Coast. If you want to buy a gasoline Jeep Wrangler, you have to order it special. There won't be any on the dealer's lots. Only EVs or hybrids. That limits your choice about what you're going to have. What is electric cars doing for the market? Well, the world needs more cheap electric cars. That's trouble for the car makers. Well, you've heard a lot now about the strikes that are going on at the big three automakers: Ford, General Motors, Stellantis, which is Jeep and Chrysler. Part of the reason that they're striking is they know the handwriting's on the wall. New electric vehicle conversion of these plants is going to need 30 to 40% fewer employees, because you don't need any more exhaust systems, radiators, cooling systems, internal engines. All you need is a battery and electric motors. Many of those will be imported, already built. So all you need is really to put together the body, which is about half of the manufacturing process. Electric vehicles represent a fundamental shift in the technologies and manufacturing process that have turned Ford into the biggest car companies on the planet, according to the article. Car making is undergoing a seismic shift. Couldn't be any bigger than that. The world needs affordable EVs, but it's not going to have as many jobs. Car companies have been the cornerstone for the last 100 years. And the manufacturers are going to need fewer employees. And that's going to affect the economy even more. Remember, we talked about what is affecting the economy. Well, see where it says China's advantage? Most of the batteries and the motors are going to be imported, which means you need less U.S. manufacturing jobs. Look, if that's the way it's going to go, that's fine. You can have an opinion about it, which I'm sure you do, but it doesn't change the fact that it's another strain on the economy. Car prices are up, less jobs. That's also going to strain the economy, right? So that's the reason for having these work activities, call it a strike if you want. UAW, United Auto Workers, holding the deal hostage over battery plants. The reason why is because they know that these electric vehicles are not going to need as many jobs. According to the union representative, EV transition is going to cut 40% of jobs. 40%. Probably going to be more than that, but at least 40%. That could happen over the next few years, because many government agencies are requiring that EVs replace gasoline vehicles. If that's not enough for the economy, for jobs, even if you don't work in an auto plant and your job's not taken by EVs, well, you have another risk. AI tools could turn into job-killing machines. Challenges of artificial intelligence for American workers. It's real simple. If you're an American worker, many jobs are taken over by AI. In fact, we just saw a piece this week about how in California they raised the minimum wage for working at McDonald's or fast food to $20, and all the McDonald's owners are like, "We're just going to have to hire robots." They already have a robot that'll flip the fries and put the fry basket in the grease, right? So that tells you something. They're investing millions of dollars in these fry basket flippers because they know that they can't afford to pay $20. It's already too expensive to go to McDonald's. Hamburger and a fries and a drink now, you're talking 10, $12. No more dollar menu. If you have to pay employees $20 to work at McDonald's, which I'm not saying is good or bad. I mean, if that's what you have to pay and maybe people need that much money, it's just math. You know, the price of a hamburger is based on the labor, the cost, the overhead, the rent, everything else. And if you add cost to that, prices are just going to go up. So if the hamburger goes up, everything else goes up. Continues inflation. Inflation's not going down. And here's the thing. You may not think that inflation affects more than just what you pay, but it has a domino effect throughout the economy, even into real estate, even into mortgages. And we're going to cover that last, this mortgage piece, because it's the biggest factor. It's the biggest factor. It's insidious and diabolical what it's doing. Now, a ray of hope about AI. There are some people who are saying that people-driven businesses trumps technology. There's some startups that are, this happens to be in the consulting business, that people-driven approach sets businesses apart. So if you have an actual human, you can see our link below, actual human, that's involved with dealing with customers and doing things, it might be better than technology. Do you have an opinion about that? Do you think AI and technology is the way to go? Chat bots, automated type things? Or would you rather talk to an actual human? Who knows what's going to happen? So here's the thing. We started out talking about vehicles, cars, and that's important because everybody has to have a car. You got to get to where you're going. But what everybody has to have more of is shelter. You have to have a home, whether it's a house, apartment, a condo, maybe you live on campus at school. You got to have a roof over your head. Not everybody does. There's a big homeless problem. That's part of the real estate story. But everybody wants a roof over their head, whether it's a tent or a mansion. Got to live somewhere. Obviously, the cost of living with a roof over your head has gone up dramatically. Whether you're looking at buying a house, financing a house, or renting a house, all those are through the roof. Rents through the roof. That's why a lot of people are homeless. Home prices through the roof. Interest rates on mortgages through the roof. Well, you would think that if interest rates on mortgages go up, then prices will come down. Well, that's not true. Home prices in US hit a record high, and that's just a few days ago, erasing a recent decline. Remember when people were waiting for the housing market crash a couple years ago, 2021, 22? Everybody said, wait for the crash, or prices will come down. Well, they did go down a little bit. Crash over. If you blinked, you missed it. This is not like the housing market crash of 2008. This is a different type of crash. Home prices rose for a 6th straight month from July, from June. So guess what? Crash over. It's not just a blip, it's going up. There was a small 5% decline from 22 to 23 when the market was slowing. That's over with. Buyer demand continues to outmatch housing supply. We've talked about supply before. We won't beat that dead horse now. We're going to talk more about interest rates. High borrowing costs are also denting sales for new homes. That was the one thing that was still a ray of hope, a light, is new house construction. Only place inventory is coming from. So what's going on with mortgages? That's the big deal. Well, here's the thing. Mortgages are roughly at 8%, rounded off, call it 8%. If you have a 30-year mortgage, no points, average credit, you're probably going to pay close to 8%. There are some rates being offered in the 7.5 range, but that's, good credit, right mortgage amount, that kind of thing. CFPB, Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, finds jumps in closing costs. That's number one. So in addition to the mortgage rate going up, the closing costs went up. You don't think inflation stops at hamburgers, do you? Closing costs went up. So when you go to buy a house or do a mortgage, you have closing costs. It could be $8, $9, $10,000. Well, those went up. Denials for insufficient income went up, jump. Okay. So here's the thing. Think about that. More people are getting rejected, not because of credit, because of income. So even if you have good credit, you might not be able to get a mortgage if you don't have enough income. Why wouldn't you have enough income? Well, if the house price and the mortgage rate went up to where your monthly payment is too high for you to afford, you're going to get rejected. Most mortgage lenders want your debt to income ratio to be roughly 30%, 25 to 30% of your income. So if you make 100 grand, you can spend 30,000 on a mortgage. That's about 2,500 a month, or maybe 2,200 with taxes and insurance. That's going to buy you 2,500 a month. Buys you like at 8%, maybe a 250 or 260 house. How many of those are out there? Average price of a house is 450. That payment's going to be like 3 grand, 3,200, which means now you have to be making 150, 160 a year. So denials for insufficient income are going up. That's going to happen even more because, as we just saw, home prices hit a record high and still going up. So more people are going to have a denial for insufficient income because the house price is higher. They didn't make any more money, right? The house price went up, but their income didn't go up. Mortgage rates, mark my words, 10% is the new normal. It's not even there yet. It's roughly 8% now, still got a ways to go. It may take a few years, but mortgage rates aren't going to come crashing back down. Here's why. Mortgage rates are based on the Federal Reserve rate. The Federal Reserve rate is based on fighting inflation. As long as they have to continue to fight inflation, they have to keep jacking up the mortgage rate. So inflation is not going anywhere anytime soon. What about this last one? Growing proportion of cash out refinances. This is probably the most hidden risk of catastrophe in the US economy. Mortgage rates have gone up consistently for the last 3 years, 3.5 years. Anybody who's doing a cash out refinance is getting a mortgage rate of 8% because refinance rates are actually higher in most cases than purchase money mortgage. So let's call it 8%. There's a growing proportion of those, meaning that more people are getting cash out refinances. What a cash out refinance, and I know a lot of you know this, I don't want to bore you with details, is if you have a house that has some equity in it, you get a mortgage that pays off your old mortgage and is a little bit higher. So if you have a 200,000 owed on your house, you borrow 250 on your new mortgage. The first 200 pays off your old loan. The other 50,000, you get cash. They hand you a check. In the past, people did refinances to lower their interest rate. If you're refinancing now at 8%, you're not lowering your rate. Nobody has a rate higher than 8%. Nobody has a current mortgage with a rate that high. In fact, most people have a mortgage that's 4 or 5% as their current interest rate, right? Because they bought their house or refinanced in the last 10 years, the rates were low. So everybody, and I mean everybody who's doing a refinance is getting a higher interest rate than they had before. They're giving away something they own cheap and paying more for the same thing. If you have a $200,000 mortgage that you're paying 4% on, you're just giving that away and paying involuntarily paying 8% on the same mortgage. Why would you do that? There's only one reason: cash out. They need the cash. So not only are they taking their 200,000 loan and tacking on 8%, they're adding another 50,000 or whatever to it. So now their payment's going to be higher. Why would somebody need a cash out of their house? Everybody knows the answer. You're smart. If somebody's doing a cash out, it's because they need the cash. They ran out of money. Their bank account is empty. They need the cash. It's worse than that because if their existing mortgage at 4% on 200,000 made them run out of cash, their monthly bills made them run out of cash, you're now taking that 200,000 mortgage at 4%, which is maybe 1,200 bucks a month, and now you're financing 250 at 8%, that might be 2,000 a month. So now you're adding $800 a month to your monthly expenses. If you were running out of cash at 1,200 bucks a month, you're gonna run out of cash faster at 2,000 a month. That 50,000 is gonna be gone quick, and now you're gonna owe more on your house, and you may not be able to take any more money out. So these cash out refinances are um, a dooming prediction of what might happen in 3, 4 years to people who did these cash outs. All the COVID incentive money's gone. All of the student loan pause is gone. Inflation is here. New prices are here. Go back to the very beginning. Car prices are $26,000. Um, it's over. Now you're going to take your cash out. Where is that going to put people? Mm, one of these things. If you have that kind of expense structure, you are not going to be able to recover from it if you now add more $800 a month to your bills. It'd be impossible. So if you do cash out, you're toast. I know you have an opinion about that. Tell me what it is. It's got to be something that is clearly going to be a problem. So, as promised, the last thing we're going to talk about is good news. And in this story, they're talking about the happiest job in the world. You get to see the fruits of your labor, and there's no shortage of demand. You may not want to do it though, builder. Construction worker have the highest level of self-reported happiness of any major industry. Analyze data from 57,000 employees a day. Now it's physical work. You have to lift stuff and move stuff and hammer nails and use power tools, but it is rewarding, very high paying. Look, we have a um, construction company, Secure Builders. We know other builders that are paying 80, $90 an hour for construction workers. That's big bucks. If you get 80 bucks an hour, 40 hours a week, that's 3 grand a week plus benefits. And it's a secure job. There's not enough construction workers to go around. And it's the happiest job in the world too. It's a no-brainer. This is a good example of where the economy is steering towards more actual humans. Let's try that again. More actual humans, not AI, EVs, technology. AI can't build a house, can't frame walls, can't install wiring. AI can't do it. It can maybe flip burgers and cook fries, but it can't do the other things. I know you have opinions about this. Let us know what they are. Follow us, and we'll see you on the next